Even the false accusation of a person of a dubious morality can taint the reputation of an upright servant. Coming up. Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh is in hot water after being accused by EFF members of being an operative and a mouthpiece for an MK party. They think that MK party is using Sizwe Mpofu's channel SMWX to push MK's propaganda. These EFF members' accusations come after Sizwe has invited Floyd Shivambu over for an interview in his channel.
I conceptualized the economic freedom fighters, the name, the references of commissars, commander-in-chief, the 7 cardinal pillars, the founding manifesto, and all its key documents, including the documents which are constituting the Third National People's Assembly. Like I see the core and main document is the document which in my resignation letter I said should guide the organization on organizational redesign. So it's one of those things that had to be done.
Then it was Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh.
I'll be resigning soon from the EFF. Then it means also I'm resigning from Parliament. You know, we've seen GNU with the advocate Mkhwebane because ANC voted with the DA and they managed to remove me. Being in Parliament again, it's so terrible that when you don't have numbers, there's nothing you can do.
I have to ask you about MK Party.
Well, they've approached me several times.
Then it was Bongani Baloyi.
Eventually, I think with the appointment and resignation of Floyd from the EFF, for us that was the final sign that
Wow,
you
that's
know,
interesting.
if someone like that sees value and in presenting himself to a party like this, that speaks volumes to us. So now actually this consolidation is not just a concept, it is real, it is genuine. So then there was a conversation between myself and Floyd, which was a very simple conversation and also just understanding about the future plans. You know, he really made us comfortable.
Then it was Brian Molefe.
Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX, and today I'm extremely excited to be joined by MKP MP, Mr. Brian Molefe. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on SMWX.
It's a pleasure. Sizwe, I must apologize for giving you the runaround.
Not at all.
You
Not
know,
at
I'm
all.
a very shy person, so I was not forthcoming.
Nandile Mkutama.
Bro, thank you so much for joining us on SMWX.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm an avid follower of this show.
Appreciate it. You know, someone was going to knock my door down if I didn't bring you on this show. Every day, someone in the comments says, please bring Andile Mkutama. So we've delivered.
Thank you for those who have been agitating for my presence in this show. Thanks.
Even Jacob Zuma.
Spread the fire. Welcome to SMWX. And today is the biggest day for this channel I think we may ever have in our history. I'm joined by a stalwart of the South African struggle against apartheid, by a former president of the African National Congress, as well as a former president of the Republic of South Africa, a man dearly beloved across our nation, former President Jacob Zuma. Baba, thank you so much for honoring this platform by your presence.
Thank you. Thank you so much also to be with you. Thank you very much.
And all of them are MK members. Then his dad, Daddy Mpofu, joined MK party. That was it with EFF members. They saw red. Even EFF MPs were not happy about Sizwe Mpofu giving Floyd Shivambu a platform where Floyd could rant and boast about how he helped EFF when the EFF was starting up. I don't know about you, but I agree with Sizwe Mpofu. I think some EFF members are just being petty. Check this out.
Let's come to the EFF. And I want to say this, and I hope that some people in the EFF and EFF members are listening to this, because again, to bring it back to the podcast briefly, it's quite sad for me to see that there are some people in the EFF who have fallen for this idea that just because MK people accept my invitations to do interviews, and indeed often sometimes break news on the channel, that I am somehow only inviting MK guests onto this platform and that I'm trying to pursue some kind of MK agenda, or worse, I'm trying to destroy the EFF with this podcast, right? That's just petty, naive, and unfair. Many people in the EFF will know that I constantly invite EFF leaders onto SMWX, but what is sad to me is that ever since I interviewed Floyd, EFF has decided not to come onto my podcast. And I'm hoping it's just a short-term thing. I understand that the party is like, there are a lot of people who are angry with Floyd and I brought him on and therefore they transfer that onto me. But I don't get this idea that because I interview people from MK that I am some kind of MK mouthpiece. The irony is I was always accused of being an EFF mouthpiece. And because I had one interview with Floyd, now suddenly I'm an MK mouthpiece. The EFF they boycott ENCA and the mainstream, and sometimes they don't like Newsroom. And I've seen them say that SABC is now an MK platform. And then they can't also boycott digital media because there'll be no media left. No media will always be full of praise for any one political party, but that doesn't mean you then boycott the platform or whatever. So I'm confident EFF will come back on SMWX. I'll keep inviting them. But this is one thing that I would say. MK has figured out the power of digital media. And this platform and many other great podcasts that there are in South Africa, whether we talk about Dan Corder, whether we talk about The Hustler's Corner, DJ Sbu, Convo, all those platforms that are just have MacG, obviously that's in a more culture space. But if you are continuing to ignore the power of these platforms, then you're living in a bygone, dead era, right? If you're running onto all these mainstream platforms that don't really get the views they're used to, that people are tuned out of, then you haven't figured out how to communicate in this part of the 21st century. So MK Party, what I will give them credit for is they figured out the power of this platform and many other platforms. And so when I invite people, they come. So, and I'm not going to stop inviting people from MK either. Why? Because the public wants to know what they think. And every time I do MK content, it gets lots of views, which is my viewers telling me that they want to keep watching that kind of content. So that's what's happened here, is that I invite people from every party, continue to invite DA, ANC. I'm actually glad, big ups to the ANC, because they seem to have figured out to come as well. And many ANC people are now coming onto the podcast. I think they've realized the reach of digital media in South Africa now. And I'll continue to invite EFF, but I've gotten to the point where if you don't want to come onto the platform, it's now your loss and not mine.
Even Penwell, the Black Pen, defended Sizwe Mpofu, of which I totally agree with Penwell. There is a lady by the name of Sikolise Gcilishe. I think she's an MP, she's an EFF MP. She said, why did Sizwe Mpofu use his platform for Floyd Shivambu? Imagine that. Another thing is this. EFF have got their own podcast. I think maybe instead of complaining about Sizwe, they should just maybe focus on their podcast and bring their leaders there more instead of complaining. I believe that EFF should use their podcast. They have their podcast. They should use their podcast to try by all means to counter Sizwe Mpofu instead of complaining and accusing Sizwe of bringing MK leaders. What surprises me is that so far, none of the senior leaders of EFF that have stood up to protect Sizwe Mpofu and stop their members from accusing him of such petty things. Above all, Mpofu did say that he gave EFF members or EFF senior leaders an opportunity to come over to the channel, but they didn't show up at all. So, what do you think? Let me hear your comment below, and of course, don't forget to subscribe if you're coming for the first time.